So, welcome back to the podcast. Aaron, Deacon from Bios Nutrients is here because he lives here.
Yep.
He doesn't. He's always here though. And so I want to talk to you about seed starting.
Cool.
Seedlings, everything about them.
Yep.
I always love the planning stages of gardening. Like I map things out. I get all excited. I'm looking at my seed catalogs.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited at this phase. I know lots of people just like being outdoors and doing, but this is cool for me.
I love this part too. Yeah.
Our community is asking, when should seeds be started indoors?
That one's variable. Refer to your
variable.
seed packet.
Refer to your seed packet
Yeah.
and your growing region because
Yeah.
of when your, frost dates and frost dates and growing zone will determine when you want to start those babies.
Yeah, and how big you want them before you put them outside as well. Like a lot of people prefer to have their plants like a good size before they put them out to avoid, even like frost damage. If your plant is a good size, you can get through a frost, no problem. So yeah, definitely some plants need to be started in January. Some can be started in February. Some can be started in April.
Yeah, it's kind of like come New Year, you should be starting all those little guys.
Yeah, and you should be ordering your seeds like at the start of the new year, especially now because seeds are selling out like crazy. So
Are they?
Yeah, they've been like sold out very early the last few years.
Okay.
Just because people.
Increase in demand.
Yes, huge increase. Yeah, so get your
It's all
seeds
you
early.
guys out there. I'm so excited, but I guess that's the downside. No seeds left.
Pretty much, yeah. You got to get on it early. But yeah, so yeah, refer to what you're growing because they're all going to be different. They're all going to require different germination methods. Some need to be in the fridge for a certain amount of time. Like some you need to have in the fridge for months before you even germinate them. So yeah,
Okay.
it really depends.
When you're kids, I remember being a kid and we would get a toy catalog around December to pick out all of the toys that we want for
Sears,
Christmas.
or?
Yeah, it could be Sears catalog. Any of those big, they don't even exist anymore, I don't think. Those big catalogs, we'd look through and we'd highlight and pick out all the things we want.
Yeah.
I do the same thing now with seed catalogs.
Yeah.
So come December,
fun.
that's what I do instead of toy catalogs.
That's cool.
Seed catalogs.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. What is the best seed starting mix for starting vegetable seeds indoors?
Starting vegetable seeds, just like a seedling mix. So it's usually going to be just like straight organic matter. It's going to be either like a mix of peat moss, a coco coir with like some kind of pH balancer, because you have to have the right pH for seedlings. Any plants need the right pH. But yeah, that's it. Something void of a lot of nutrition because you don't want to burn young roots. So yeah, something very low in nutrients, something with high water retention and good aeration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I mix my own?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so just make sure, like you could grab, I like coco coir. The only thing is you're going to have to adjust the pH of coco coir down. So you'll have to add you can add a little bit of sulfur. You can kind of like water with a vinegar and water mix or lemon juice and water mix, something like that. But you do have to adjust the pH of coco coir, and then just add like a little bit of perlite, and you'll be good to go.
Easy peasy. You're very
Easy
used to mixing and adding and adjusting soil.
Yes.
Maybe not as easy peasy for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
But good tips.
Yeah, and you want to make sure like you don't have a big container. Like even if you mix like a 50-50 of like coco coir and perlite, that's going to be probably not enough water retention to germinate the seed properly, but at least like you can keep watering and keep it moist without overwatering that mixture.
Right.
And it really comes down to like your environment, so making sure there's enough humidity and making sure there's enough moisture in it to germinate properly.
Okay. Do vegetable seedlings need to be fertilized while they're still growing outside, or do we not have to worry about that until kind of springtime and we're bringing them out?
You'll probably have to fertilize somehow, either by like using a liquid fertilizer if you're just using kind of like a base soil mix, or by having like a more heavily amended soil mix that's got compost and like different nutrients already in it so the plant can start feeding. But they will need nutrients like very quickly, like once they sprout, probably within like 2 to 3 weeks after they sprout. If you don't have any nutrition in the soil for them, they'll start to get deficiencies.
Got it.
Yeah.
So as soon as they've sprouted, essentially, just
A couple weeks after they
Couple
sprouted.
weeks
Yeah.
after.
So I'd wait probably 2 to 3 weeks after they sprouted to start using a heavier soil mix or
as you
fertilizers.
would outside.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. How do you prevent dampening off?
Reduce your humidity, allow for some airflow. So most time people are gonna start seeds in like a little like greenhouse kind of container or something. So you want to make sure that your soil mix that you're using has enough porosity, drainage to make sure that it's not just like sopping wet and that seed's gonna suffocate. That's gonna be the biggest thing. Making sure you start with a small enough container for that seed.
To regulate your watering.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then making sure you're allowing for a little bit of airflow for that seedling once it sprouts out of the
Right.
soil. Yeah. If you just keep it in like a super humid container, you're gonna get dampening off and fungal disease.
But how wet should those seedlings be?
So what I like to do, a good test is like water holding capacity is how wet they should be. So when you get your soil, add water to it, squeeze it to the point where like maybe a drop comes out of it. That's a good amount of moisture for that seedling. And then just kind of add like a tiny bit of water where you plant that seed, and that should be enough. And you just want to make sure it stays moist, that it never dries out.
Okay.
Yeah, but not sopping wet.
Not sopping.
And you can
Most
also
things are-
seed soak first. Like that's a good way to do it. So if you're new to it or to kind of avoid any issues, like soak your seeds in paper towel first, like moist paper towel, or just in like a cup of water until it sprouts. And then you can plant it into some soil and just make sure it's moist.
Yeah, harken back to those grade school times when we all took wet paper towel and planted seeds around a cup.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
true,
where
yeah.
we can go back and start at now.
Yeah, definitely.
Should you add a fan? Should people be adding fans to their grow setup?
They should after a certain amount of time. When they're like really small seedling, well, actually, that's not true. You should have air circulation as early as possible because you want to mimic wind with your seedlings. When they have some kind of resistance with air, they will develop stronger roots and deeper roots into the growing medium. So it is ideal to get some form of air circulation or like breeze on them as early as you can.
For growing them to be hardy enough.
Yeah, to make sure that they can stand outside without falling over at the first kind of sign of wind
Yeah.
would be the biggest thing. So yeah, it'll strengthen them and allow them to grow deeper roots, and it will also prevent any kind of fungal diseases because stagnant moist air is going to always cause fungal disease. So if you have something
Moving it around.
fresh air, yeah.
Okay. Heat mats.
Yes.
Do all seedlings need heat mats?
That's a good question. They need warmth for sure. So either from a southern facing window or a grow light or a heat mat, they need like 24 degrees Celsius, if not a little bit warmer sometimes, to germinate quickly and properly. So yeah, I would recommend heat mats for sure. And then once they start developing, you can start turning that heat mat down because you want your soil to start coming to a lower temperature.
Yeah.
Too high of a temperature, and you can start getting disease as well.
Okay. So the benefit of having a heat mat is just to keep your temperature up where it needs to be. Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be a heat mat.
No, yeah.
There are other methods.
Yes.
But as long as we're keeping that around the 24-degree mark.
Yep. That's pretty good for most seeds. Yeah,
good.
24 to 26 is usually recommended for a lot of germination, and then you can start reducing that temperature after.
Okay. How many hours a day should we have grow lights on indoors if we have grow lights?
At least 14. So ideally like 16 to 18. Once you start dropping below 14, that's when it starts triggering flowering for most
Yeah.
plants. So yeah, ideally 18 on, 6 off is perfect. You want them to have some form of sleep. Some people will run 24 hours a day, but I think it's beneficial for plants to go into a sleep period for development. So yeah, 18 6.
So
is
maybe a
perfect.
timer. Invest in a timer.
Yes, yeah, they're cheap and they're very useful.
What are true leaves, and how do I recognize them when I see true leaf?
So they're all different depending on the type of plant, but you'll have your first set of leaves, which are called cotyledons leaf, and they'll usually be kind of like a rounded leaf, very small, and then your second set of leaves are always going to be your true leaves. Yeah, so it'll be your second set of leaves will be true leaves.
Okay, so you have a practice leaf.
Yes,
And
and
then
they
a
will
real
usually
leaf.
die off. So if they start dying after your true leaves start coming in, that's completely normal.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if they start turning brown, if seed leaves start turning brown, we're all good.
Yeah, like the first
just
ones
part
that
of
come
the
out.
cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just kind of there to like be the first step of photosynthesis to provide the plant enough energy to start producing its actual leaves.
Okay. I think we're ready for seedlings. We're
Yeah.
ready to start.
Cool. And one other good thing or a good tip with seedlings is you can do a hydrogen peroxide soak with them. So just same thing, a 2% hydrogen peroxide in water, soak your seeds in them. And that's going to prevent any kind of fungal diseases. And it also helps penetrate the shell of the seed so they
So
can
soak
germinate
them
faster.
before you've done anything with
Yep.
them. Okay.
Yep.
I haven't done that. I will do that this year.
Yeah, and you can do that with our yucca extract as well. It's been scientifically shown to reduce fungal diseases, and the growth and development of plants have almost been twice as big after seed soaking with that. So
I'm definitely
yeah,
trying that this
yeah,
year.
you can practice with seed soaks. Even compost tea is a great seed soak. Yeah, and if you
Okay.
have old seeds, you can use scarification to help them germinate. So you can take like kind of like a matchbox or like that stripe of matchbox and kind of like turn it into a container and like shake the seeds up in it so it just kind of like scratches the surface a bit, and that'll help water penetrate old seeds.
So what about gentle sandpaper?
Yep, yeah,
Same
you just have
thing.
to be, yeah, you can like
Super
put a little
gentle.
sandpaper in a container and
Very
like
fine.
a Tupperware and just kind of shake all the seeds around in it, and yeah,
So
it'll
many
scarify
things
them.
to experiment with. I'm ready. I'm ready for my seedlings. Thanks, Aaron.
You're welcome.
I hope everybody else is ready. Can't wait to see some of your pictures and hear some of your success stories. So thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
See you later.
Yes.
And you guys, good luck with your seed starting.
Bye.
New beginnings.
Have
It's
fun.
very exciting.